Jungkook's POV. Passing through the crowded room and ignoring the people around me, I went to the private room and threw myself on the couch, letting a deep sigh out. I noticed some of my Haeyoungs but didn't care and just pretended they weren't there, when they, on the other side, watched me with a questioning face, as I threw my head back and closed my eyes thinking, "Jimin, what's wrong?" Jimin finally asked as he found it weird I was acting like that before a concert. I ended up opening my eyes and face him, as I bent forward and grabbed some food of the table. "Jimin, it's about YN, isn't it?" he asked again and I just nodded slightly, leaning back again. "Jimin, is it still about the same problem?" he asked once more, letting a giggle. "Hoseok, what problem?" Hoseok suddenly arrived and sat next to Jimin, since he'd been listening to the conversation. "Jimin, Jungkook wants to get L4*D but YN won't let him G3T it." Jimin mumbled with an amused smile on his face. "Jungkook, it's not about getting L4*D. I just wanna take the next step in our relationship." I suddenly intervened, kind of annoyed. "Hoseok, you haven't done it yet, why though?" Hoseok asked, kind of surprised with widened eyes, and I just shook my head, kind of disappointed. "Jimin, she just **TS him off," Jimin answered for me. "Hoseok, really?" He asked again, looking for an answer from me. Jungkook, well, we M4K30*T and started but she always manages to escape. I explained and Jimin suddenly giggled louder, bending on his Haeyoung's direction, so he'd whisper on his ear. "Jimin, that was one time he was F***ing her and she just ran away." Hoseok, wait, what? Is that true? Hoseok asked, even more surprised, looking at me. I nodded and he leaned back, crossing his leg. Hoseok, Jungkookie, I think you're doing something wrong. Jungkook, that's not the thing, she was enjoying it, I'm sure. I mumbled, kind of EMB4RAS3D with my eyes on my L4P. Jimin, why wouldn't she W4NT more then? She could be pretending, Jimin asked with a raised eyebrow. I looked at him while thinking, he was right, maybe I was doing something wrong. Namjoon, guys, don't say those things to him. Namjoon suddenly appeared and sat next to me, while holding food on his hands. He placed it over the table and sat back waiting for it to cool down. Namjoon, I've told you about this Jungkook, you should speak to her about it. Jungkook, I know Hong, but it's kind of EMB4RR4SS, I mumbled, still with my eyes locked on my hands resting upon my THGHS. Hoseok, yeah June, he's kinda right, Hoseok spoke again. Hoseok, maybe the problem is not about him, maybe she has some kind of insecurity and she's EMB4RAS3D. Jimin, why would she be insecure, she's H0+. Jimin states, making me instantly glare at him with the angriest face. Jimin, what? It's true. Namjoon, I don't know, women are kind of weird about those things sometimes. Namjoon tried to make me forget about Jimin's words and I faced him again. Jungkook, you think so? I asked, kinda unsure, and he nodded. Namjoon, Besides, if it's about you and she hasn't left you yet, it means she wants to be with you and she doesn't care about it. If you speak it out, maybe you can improve about something. 𝙁𝚳𝚃. Namjoon has a point, 𝙁𝚳𝚃 said, and I faced him. Jungkook. Okay. I guess I'll speak to her later. They all nodded and ate. Time skips. 𝚁𝚃𝚂𝚃. I waited for Jungkook to come back from the concert while sitting on my couch. He'd messaged me he wanted to speak to me, which I found kinda odd since it'd be late already when he came back, but since he insisted so much I ended up agreeing and waited for him on my apartment. I couldn't stop myself from being nervous though. I didn't know what he wanted to talk about, but I had a slight idea. Me and Jungkook have been kinda weird lately and I was almost sure it was about me running away whenever things got 𝙰𝚃 up between us. We'd been together for a while now and we haven't had any kind of 𝛌4L and 3R4 court on before, and I knew it was making him fruster 4T3D. The truth was, and it's not like I didn't want to do it with him. I did because I loved him so much, but I was scared of his reaction when he found out, and also of me doing something wrong. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I knew he'd been with beautiful women before. Suddenly I heard my phone and looked there instantly. It was him saying he was outside and for me to open the door. My heart instantly beat faster. I slowly got up from the couch and glanced at the mirror to check myself. I was wearing one of his hoodies and some sweatpants. I walked up the door and took a deep breath as I led my hand to the door and opened it. He instantly lifted his face to look at me. I glanced a little smile at him and he did the same, before stepping forward to P3CK my lips. Jungkook. Hey. He mumbled in a low voice before he stepped inside the house, causing me to close the door and follow him. YN. Are you tired? I asked, trying to break the ice as I saw him take his coat off and sit on the couch. Jungkook. Just a bit, he said, and I nodded, before going to him and sit beside him. I watched him for a while as he kept his gaze forward, without saying a word. YN. What did you want to talk about? I asked with a low voice too, in fear, hoping it'd be about other subject. His face instantly turned to me and I felt my heartbeat increase to 1000 when his serious eyes met mine. Jungkook. Do you like me, YN? He asked suddenly and I frowned. YN. Of course I like you. What's the quest? Jungkook. Don't you want to be with me? He cut me off, making me widen my eyes, this time even more confused. YN. Of course I do. Why? Jungkook. Then why don't you want to take this to another level? He suddenly asked, arranging his body on the couch, to face me completely. Jungkook. Why don't you want to take the next step? I kept silent and looked at my L4P, avoiding his gaze as I bit my lips nervously. He suddenly grabbed my hands and I lifted my face, to meet his strong gaze again. I knew it was the right time to tell him, and I knew I had to take all my courage to speak about it. Jungkook. Is it about me? You can tell me if it is. And if it's the case I can. He suddenly asked and I could tell it was taking him a lot of pride to ask that. YN. It's not about you. I instantly mumbled looking down at my L4P again. Jungkook. What is it about then? He asked but I didn't answer. Jungkook. YN. I really like you but if you don't tell me YN. I never did it before. I suddenly spoke in the lowest voice possible, making him sit back kind of confused. Jungkook. What? He asked but I didn't even have the courage to look at him. YN. I never did it before. I said again, this time in a louder tone so he could understand.